25 School Bus Stories. According to Reddit, number 25. In grade school, a girl with really long hair was sitting next to an open window, and her hair got snagged by a tree limb. It ripped a chunk of her scalp off, about the size of a tennis ball. Edit, for those wondering, doctors let it heal up, and she had surgery later to stretch her scalp to cover it. It ended up looking like a T-scar on the top right corner of her head. You'd never have noticed it unless she parted her hair to show you. Someone later that day ended up finding the chunk of her scalp and hair still tangled to the tree branch, but it was well after she went to the hospital, so they didn't try to sew it back on. Is this a horror story thread? Number 24. Waiting for the boss with a bunch of other kids in front of my apartment complex. I saw a tabby cat get completely murked by a passing car. Haven't heard the word murked in a long time. Front wheels hit the cat. The cat got flung up against the wheel, hit the ground, then got smacked by the muffler. The driver immediately stopped and got out as the cat sprinted away. I figured the cat went off and died somewhere. After school that day, I went with a friend of mine over to the house of a friend of his whom I didn't know. There I saw a tabby cat that looked identical to the one that got smoked in the street earlier. I asked him, "Is this your cat?" He replied, "Yeah, she got hit by a car today, but she seems okay." Oh, how many of them lying lives that kitty give up just now? Probably like 2.5. Number 23. Freshman year, a girl I was sitting next to opened her backpack and I saw a gun in it. Oh, damn. She saw me see it and just gave me a hard glare and shook her head. I planted my eyes on the back of her seat, or the seat in front of me, and didn't even look at her the rest of the ride. I went to a kind of rough school. Well, if you see somebody with a gun, kids, and they sitting next to you, and they open their bag and they know that you saw that, they got the gun, you just tap the side of your nose and go, "I got you, man." And that's how you don't end up killed as part of the spree. You see what I'm saying? Let's continue. Oh, whoa, is this going to get monetized when we say stuff like that? It's a joke. It's a joke. We can't make jokes on the internet. What a fucking Big Brother style society YouTube is turning into. Lick my ass, whoever has to watch this video to decide whether or not it's monetizable. Number 22. The bus was always the perfect time to play the penis game, where each person took turns saying the word penis progressively louder. There was always the one guy who just didn't give a fuck and would shout penis at the top of his lungs. And that's this person's school bus story, you know what I mean? They're just dying to tell the story. I love it when he'd yell that as loud as he could. I love that word. Homo. Number 21. Bus getting pulled over and the driver getting arrested. Oh shit, can you elaborate please? And somebody in the comments says, "More, dude, I need more." And this says not the same person, but often when we would get on the bus, it smelled like weed. And our bus driver was sleeping while waiting for us. It was after school. Pulling over a bus driver. It is really coming down outside, and I love that. Number 20. I was in the 5th grade. We all boarded the bus after school. The bus starts driving and we were rowdy. The bus driver screams, "Shut the fuck up," several times. He starts yelling louder. We ignore him. Suddenly he slams on the brakes. We all fly around in the bus. He parks right there in the lane. Can you hear that? He opens the door and walks away. We just watched him fade into the distance. Eventually, parents started showing up and we all got rides home. I will never forget that bus ride. It would have been funnier if one of the kids jumped in the driver's seat and said, "All right, chaps, let's go." You know what I mean? Can you imagine how much trouble that bus driver would get in if one of those kids jumped in the driver's seat and started driving the bus and then they wrecked it or something. Because I'm sure the bus driver will be the one getting in trouble. A, you're abandoning a bunch of kids. B, kids gonna be kids. So you know what I mean? If the kids crash the bus, let's not get too Kyle. Number 19. One time, my friend pushed me out of the seat and I fell and face planted on a guy's dick. Well, his dick wasn't exposed. Just say the crotch of his pants. Jeez. And then she edits the post to say, I'm a girl. Also, holy fuck, I didn't expect all the upvotes. Well, that's what penises will get you around here. You don't know because you've got one of those vaginas. Number 18. All the kids on my school bus made a collective effort to buy our bus driver a Kindle at the top end of the year because he was always reading. He was such a cool and friendly guy, too. Y'all bitch-ass kids better be in the nicest neighborhood in the world. Mommy's giving me $7,800 for allowance today, and I see the bus driver reading. Ugh, how disgusting is that? Do you have a book fetish, sir? We need to get you a Kindle. A Kindle Fire. Only the fire is what you should desire. Is it done raining? Oh no, it just kind of like got a little bit lighter. All right. Number 17. This is my most memorable moment, period. I had drank lots of coffee the night before staying or trying to stay awake and study for a test. As I got on my bus the next morning, the shit starts to hit me. Whoa, the shits indeed. Literal shits. But this was nothing I had ever experienced before. 10 minutes into my 50-minute bus ride, I'm starting to sweat. We got the shits worse. Then, panic. I try making eye contact with my bus driver through the front mirror. Maybe he'll see my distress. Maybe he'll pull over and I can release my stink at Burger King. I ended up squatting over my paper lunch bag and taking a massive dump in it, all while sobbing and staring at the back of the girl who sat in front of me. Afterward, I was so flustered, I just buckled the bag next to me for the rest of the ride. It was a low point in my life. A few months later, I did it again. Guys, I'm just going to turn it up so y'all can hear the rain again and think about somebody pooping in the back of a bus. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this portion. A few months later, I did it again. So what do you think there? You know? Think that he developed a fascination with that feeling? Do you think that since he wrote this story, he's perhaps done it in extra time? Welcome to the Kyle channel. As we continue up the list, we arrive at number 16. Some kid in the back of the bus was being harassed by his bully. My school district... Sorry, my mind wanted to read distract. My school district didn't really do shit about bullies. The kid being bullied was sitting 3 to a seat with his legs in the aisle, and the bully was sitting by one of his friends. Well, in the aisle across from the kid he was messing with, the bully decided to start pushing the kid's leg. Before it was verbal, but now it was physical. Kid told bully to stop. Bully mocked him and did it again. Kid then punched the bully in the nose, breaking it and causing this huge amount of blood to leak from it. Oh yeah, baby. It doesn't take a lot of pressure to send the... Well, let's not equip the kids with that knowledge, Kyle. By now, the bus has stopped at some bus stop. The kid gets his stuff and gets off at the bus stop that's a few ahead of his. The second he's off, he starts running and going a different route to his house. The bus driver was unaware of what happened until someone yelled for the bus driver to call someone because the bully's nose wouldn't stop bleeding. So she calls someone while the bully is calling his mom, crying. So we get the police to show up. His mom, other kids have called their parents because at this point, we've been at a standstill for like 30 plus minutes. And the principal. We don't know who called the police, so they, along with the principal, were asking who did it and to confess. And we were all like, we don't know. Of course, we did know, but why would we tell on our hero? The principal and police are talking, and they think the kid is still on the bus. We then say, oh, he got off. We don't know where he went or who he was. The principal and police look at the bus driver, who shrugs because she didn't realize what was going on until it was too late. We spent 2 hours on that bus because of it, but I couldn't even be mad. My middle school bus was wow. The middle school bus. They need to make a animated TV show called The Middle School Bus. And she's got a little kid in there that always got a gun in her backpack because she know what time it is. You know what I mean? On the middle school bus. All right, it's enough. Number 15. I had a really big crush on this guy. I was staring longingly at him through the mirror above the bus driver, like dead on creeper staring. I want somebody to creep on me like that. Bing bong. Then he pointed or motioned towards me or something, and I suddenly realized he can see me staring at him. Oh my God. And I felt like the stupidest person on earth. I was like a damn cat thinking I can see him in the mirror, but he can't see me drooling at him. Somebody else goes, oh my fucking God, I've done this before, but not on a bus. I stared at my crush through a window when he was in lessons for like 30 whole minutes. And he messaged me later on in the day going, I saw you on the outside of my class. And then she goes, I think I died that day. Let's continue here. Number 14. I drove a school bus for students who were in juvenile court system. Sounds like a gangsta ass bus. They had been expelled from every standard school in the district and attended classes at juvie. Oh, snap. They'd been through 6 bus drivers in the first 4 weeks of school when I received this school as my first assignment, started 2 weeks prior. I am a retired Greyhound driver, so their shit wasn't anything I hadn't seen before. They thought they had run the other drivers or run off the other drivers, so I would just be the next if they screwed with me. There were only 12 students, but because of their school, it took about 3 hours to drop them all over the town. The general rule is, when you pick up students in the AM, you start at the student farthest from the school and work your way there. In the PM, you drop off the closest first. Well, duh. The fuck? The 2 students that had have been dropped off first were the biggest smartasses. They would throw shit, ew, scream and swear. Maybe they just mean throw shit as like, they throwing shit, just like random stuff. Not actual, excrement. That's gross. Okay, they would swear, and then they would laugh that they were getting off and too bad for me. Okay. I told them to clean up their torn up paper. They laughed and swore at me. I followed procedure and wrote them up to their principal. This meant nothing. They already were expelled. What else can they do? So the next day, I loaded the students and they started their shit, and I drove the morning route home. Ellie, farthest kid, first man. They started screaming, I'm gonna call my mama. I'm gonna get you fired. I laughed. I told them their mamas would appreciate that I kept them supervised for an extra 2 hours. Ooh. Every time one of them acted up, they were the last to get off. They bitched about turning the radio on. They got Dr. Laura or Sean Hannity. They stopped their shit in a week. Oh my bing bong. Hannah liked that one. Number 13. First day of my freshman year, a girl sitting across from me showed off her nipple ring. Ooh la la. I always sat near the back of the bus from then on. Somebody said, that's where she sat, right? I would have liked it if he didn't answer this question, but he goes correct. All of the interesting stuff happened back there because that's where all the bad kids were. Fights, drugs, pranks, boobs, and other misfit shenanigans occurred at the back of that bus. Don't know if that's normal. Well, why do you think, I was going to make a Rosa Parks joke, man, but let's not go there. You know what I'm talking about? Number 12. Not sure why this stuck with me, but this was during the cooler months that you would just crack the windows a bit and get some fresh air. We would play football, triangle paper kind, by kicking it back and forth. I kicked it one time and it went out of the window. The window only opens far enough that it could barely slide through on the other side. Yeah, it's always the best when you can barely slide it in. You know what I mean? It flew back into the bus, 7 windows down. Also, through a window that was barely open enough to have fit through. It hit a guy in the face. It was extremely bizarre. A little paper football flew out of the bus and then back into the bus and hit a guy in the face. Out of the bus, into the bus, barely enough room for it to slide in and out. Out of the bus, into the bus, in, out. Oh yeah, you guys better grab hold of something. Number 11. It was late in the 70s. I think I was in 7th grade, and our bus driver was a very cool guy that everybody called Animal. Oh, cool. The bus was an old bus with a stick shift and a clutch. Last day of school, Animal drives the bus to a nearby park and instructs all of us to the back of the bus. We all pile up in the last 3 or 4 rows of the seats, and he revs the engine and pops the clutch. The guy was popping wheelies in a school bus. Rumor has it he was banging the girl's gym teacher too. Good times. Everybody's imagining this guy's bus driver as Otto from The Simpsons. What do you mean you called him Animal? Like the Muppet? Okay, number 10. One time our bus hit a car in a roundabout. The guy we hit was completely at fault. He must have not understood the turning radius of the bus or something. We were close to school and our bus driver was like, well, I gotta deal with this. So we got off the bus and walked to school. Oh, that's sad. Let's see what's going on with this hurricane, baby. Hurricane Harvey thread. Live thread. The pink polygons are tornado warnings in effect until 6:45. Well, that seems like hours ago. But you know what? I forgot that Texas is living in the past, baby. They living in the past. I'm kidding. It's a time zone joke. Guys, I've made a mistake here because I shouldn't have come off of the thread that I was on because I have like 1 billion windows open right now. This could be any fucking thread. Hold on. Give me a second. And we're back. Number 9. 2 cops dressed in SWAT gear riding the bus with us. A man had shot and killed 4 people in our neighborhood, and the scene apparently wasn't secure yet or something. So they had to ride the bus with us while the driver dropped us off. Holy shit. Somebody said, where do you live? And somebody else was like, Afghanistan. Number 8. One time, this kid Dana, who looked identical to Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts, just look it up, was dared to drink an entire room temperature 2-liter bottle of Coke before we got to his stop. Damn, room temperature. This kid chugged the entire bottle down like an absolute champion. At almost the instant his face could form a smug grin of satisfaction from a job well done, he proceeded to barf a borderline fountain of foamy, sticky soda all over 24 terrified kids on the bus. It's as if his entire stomach was filled with rolls of Mentos, the fresh maker, which was possible considering that candy was as its commercial peak at the time. Well, I mean, the force of this thing could have put out a house fire. His arc reached over like 4 rows of seats and was sprayed wildly back and forth like a diabetic sprinkler system as he struggled to rein control from his carbonated demonic nightmares. The bus driver had to stop the bus, attend to the frightened children, and made a short but sincere effort to pat dry those poor souls caught in ground zero with government-grade paper towels. I've never seen anything quite like it, and I'm afraid I may never again. Well done, Dana. Well done. Well, it's like a scene from a movie, and you guys didn't even have to pay anything. Number 7. My siblings and I went to a small private school that was about half an hour from home. We were the only kids on the bus that went to that school. The rest got dropped off at a public school first, and we were the last of the night. No, we were the last off at night. Needless to say, we spent more time with the driver, Tom. Needless to say, we spent more time with the driver, Tom, than the other kids did. He favored us. After all, the other kids got off. He'd let us move around. Well, after all, when the other kids got off. No, after all the other kids got off, he'd let us move around the bus, sweep the floor, or pick up the radio stations. At Christmas time, he would share his treats that the other kids gave him as gifts. He was awesome. I always remember Tom, the bus driver man. Number 6. Once, while picking up a kid, a dog got on the bus and everyone went nuts and started petting it. The driver eventually shooed it away. Aww. Number 5. When I was in 6th grade, I moved from a really small town where I could walk to school every day to a much larger one where I had to ride the bus. I was having trouble finding my way around the school the first week and ended up running very, very late to catch the bus at the end of the day. I was already beating myself up about the fact that I was going to have to call one of my parents who would have to leave work early to pick me up. But when I got outside, the bus was pulled right up with the doors open waiting for me. The bus driver knew I had been on the bus that morning and verified with my brother that I was supposed to get on the bus to go home, so he waited. I know it seems really insignificant, but with all the stress and anxiety I was feeling trying to settle into a new house and a new city and a new school, it made a lasting impression on me. Thank you, Ron, the bus driver. We're married now. I'm kidding. But the bottom line is, yeah, a lot of bus drivers wouldn't wait. If you guys have had a bus driver, you already know. They ain't waiting for your bitch ass. I'm anxious, man. Number 4. I have 2 stories. Oh, big deal. Get a load of this guy. In middle school, my bus once caught on fire a block away from school. It was a tiny one, but enough to call the firefighters. We all piled off, watched them do their thing. They brought a second bus, which also caught on fire. What the hell is going on out there? Eventually, we were brought a third bus 30 minutes later. This was all during the winter, and we weren't allowed to walk back to school because of safety reasons. Never understood why it was more safe to have kids standing outside in winter next to a bus on fire than to walk them a block back to the school. Well, the other time I was in 1st grade, my bus driver was a crazy nice guy. He knew us all. One day my aunt, who always picked me up, wasn't there at the stop. He said that I could stay on the bus and we would drive back after the route. Maybe she was just late. We drive back and she still wasn't there, so he asked me which house was mine. He drove there and parked his bus. We rang the bell and a bunch and threw small rocks at her window. Nothing. Her car was there though, so it was very weird. My friend's mom drove by and saw us. She offered to take me to her house so I could call my parents and stay there for a while, even though it was her birthday. The bus driver left and said, "Don't worry, she's probably just asleep." Turns out she was eternally asleep and had and had a brain aneurysm earlier that day. Oh, motherfucker. Oh, part of me was joking in my brain and thinking like, she's dead, bitch. She got kidnapped, bitch. But when it actually happens, that's just kind of dark. Turns out she was eternally asleep and had a brain aneurysm earlier that day. I'll never forget that day or that nice driver who wanted to make sure I was safe before he left. He even made sure to look out for me for the rest of the year. What a great guy. I'm so sorry, dude. Oh my God, number 3. I had a bus driver who purposely speed up when going over speed bumps so the kids could catch air. He got fired eventually for running into some garbage cans. Well, that's a cool guy, man. Number 2, we had senior kids setting off smoke bombs and fireworks on the bus every fucking year for a month before and a month after Halloween. A smoke bomb even landed on me and burned my skirt through once. When the bus driver told them off, they used to just swear and act like they owned the place. One day we had a bus driver who just drove the bus to the police station when that shit started, and a few of the kids who were throwing the fireworks were crying when they got taken off the bus by the police. The buses had CCTV too, so they couldn't even deny it. I was so glad when my older... You okay, Anna? Are you coughing? I was so glad when my older sister started driving and I could get lifts with her instead of going on the bus. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, at number 1 on this list. I was just checking the recorder to make sure that it was recording, because could you imagine if I was talking to myself this long? Oh, man. It's never happened, but one day, I'm sure it will. Number 1, Leroy, high school. We named our bus driver Leroy. This was 1996, before Leroy Jenkins. This ride or die motherfucker would not speak. He pulled up in his bus, opened the swing arm, glared at us, waited, closed the swing door, waited. Once we were seated, he would drive. Not a word, ever. We drank, we smoked, What finally broke him was a fight. Leroy pulled the bus over and got out of his seat. Standing in the aisle, Leroy said, "That's enough." The entire bus was silent. Leroy was the man, okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed this list about Leroy. And I hope that you, all have a great day and end up, neatly in the splash zone. Okay, the button's not working. But, maybe sometimes, you gotta stroke it a little bit before you end up in the splash zone, and then abruptly. Yeah, there you go. Abruptly. So guys, take it easy. We'll see you tonight. And oh boy, let me know if you need anything. Bye. Love ya.